in and just pour a little bit because you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay. And this, so it doesn't do it every time, and I was kind of hoping it would do it, but it actually will kind of foam up almost like when you add lye solution to beer. So if that does happen, just be aware that it can happen, but I think it's actually gonna play nice with me today, so that's so funny. I do have a video of it that I took, so I might post that video for you guys to see because I don't want you to worry if that does happen. All right, so we've added all our lye. Go ahead and add your essential oil, and yes, you will lose some of it just because of the heat. It's just what happens during this process. Okay, and then we're going to mix. So right now it's nice and curdly, and what we're looking for is it to become emulsified, all smooth. We'll see some bubbles start popping up, and it'll turn into that really loose taffy stage, and then that is when we need to very quickly get it into our containers, okay? Okay, so it's still curdly, still have some oil, you know, separated out. Okay, it's thicker, but it's still very curdly, as you can see. Okay, so we're looking for it to come together, for bubbles to start forming, and for that stretchy, smooth taffy stage. Okay, way thicker. Still curdly. At this point, it should loosen back up, and then it should turn into taffy, and then that's when we pour it. Okay, we're still really thick and still kind of curdly. If we let this sit, it would separate. And I know I'm kind of repeating myself, but I just want you guys to really see the different stages. And you can see right now, if I'm just letting it sit, it's starting to separate out. Okay. So check that out. So that's one way to know it's not done. Let it sit while you're mixing it. And if it separates out like that, keep mixing. All right, so now it emulsified very quickly. Now it's just going to get thicker and thicker. We have some bubbles forming. Okay, nice and emulsified, bubbles forming. If we let it sit, it's not going to separate out. So this is pourable. This is done. So this is what we would pour in our molds. I'm going to take it a little further just to triple check that it's done, but this is what you're looking for. Okay. So again, if we let it sit like this, it's not going to separate. It is emulsified. Some bubbles have formed because the saponification has taken place. And then it also gets cloudy on the surface. Like if you're a candy maker, you know your sugar mixture reaches that point where it kind of goes cloudy on the surface. So kind of look for that. Now the more you mix, the more thicker it's going to get. So just keep that in mind. You can go ahead and pour this into your molds. Now you can also add your essential oil at this point. I add mine before because a lot of times I accidentally mix too much and it's easy to do. Okay, so I'm just going to mix a little more just to make sure, but it's looking pretty good. Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and pour this in the mold. So it's just going to get thicker and thicker. Once it starts thickening up a bit, it's just going to get thicker and thicker. So let's go ahead and pour some of these. And then what I might do is take it a little thicker just to show you what happens. But so it's emulsified. There's some bubbles that come up. That's from the saponification happening. You definitely have a clear trace. If you let it sit for just a minute, it's not going to separate out, okay? And also, if you let it sit and the cold air hits it, it kind of gets that skin on top, like what I was talking about. All right, so let's go ahead and pour it. Now, when you pour it into jars, only, pour it so high. So leave about half of the jar. That way people can have room to lather.